I'm Whitney Bond from the food blog whitneybond.com, and today we're making a bone-in prime rib, also known as a standing rib roast. This is a beautiful cut of meat. It's delicious around the holidays, but honestly, it's perfect any time of the year. Just head to the butcher counter at your local grocery store and ask them to cut you a bone-in prime rib, and you can have it Frenched. French basically just means that they remove the extra fat from around the bones, as you can see here. And it just makes for a beautiful presentation. It's not necessary. You can definitely buy a bone-in prime rib that's not been Frenched. And around the holidays, you'll see it in the meat counter. During the rest of the year, you'll probably have to ask your butcher to cut one for you. But this is the ribeye before it's cut into steaks. You can buy it whole and roast it. It's so delicious. So with such a great piece of meat, there's very little that you have to do. So we're just gonna make a nice herb butter rub to go over it, because who doesn't love a little herb butter on top of juicy, delicious meat? So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually add some beef broth to our roasting pan. Now what this does is, as the juices and the fat drip from the prime rib, it's not gonna burn in the bottom. It has somewhere to go. And you can use the drippings and this beef broth in the bottom to make a delicious sauce, or my favorite, French onion soup. You can also add some vegetables to the bottom if you'd like. We're not gonna do that today because I'm gonna roast some vegetables separately, but you definitely can add some vegetables to the bottom and use those as part of your soup to really flavor that broth and the drippings. So we've got 1 cup of unsalted butter, and I like to use unsalted because I'm gonna add my own salt, and it lets me determine how much salt I wanna add. So this is softened. It's been sitting out at room temperature for about half an hour. I don't recommend melting the butter because you want to get this nice thick layer of the butter on the prime rib. So we're gonna add salt and pepper, and then we're going to add some crushed garlic. So I used 8 cloves of garlic. I know it sounds like a lot, but this is an 8-pound, almost 9-pound piece of meat. So we're gonna distribute it all across here. And then we have fresh herbs. So I have rosemary, thyme, and parsley. Feel free to use your favorites, mix it up if you'd like. I used about 2 tablespoons of each, so you'll want about 6 tablespoons of fresh herbs. Now you're just gonna use your hands, and this will also help soften the butter as your warm hands touch it. And we're just gonna basically smush in all those delicious herbs and garlic. Now, as far as the size of prime rib, you can usually find anything from 4 pounds and on up. So it's basically, they're gonna ask you how many bones that you want in it if you go to your butcher. So this one has 4 bones in it, and it's about 8.5 to 9 pounds. I've also purchased 4 bone-in prime rib, and it's been closer to 11 pounds. So you'll, on average, get 2 to 3 pounds per bone. And then you can buy as small as 2 bones, and that's gonna usually be around 4 to 6 pounds. So it depends on how many people you're serving, but you'll want about 1 pound of meat per person, maybe about 3/4 pound, because obviously a lot of the weight is also in the bones, which you're gonna cut out at the end. And then I highly recommend making a delicious beef stock with the bones and some veggies. I make mine in an Instant Pot, but you can also make it on the stove. It makes delicious base for soups. Like I mentioned earlier, French onion soup is one of my favorites, and this homemade beef broth just really takes it over the top. All right, so we've mixed all of our herbs and garlic, and salt and pepper into the butter, and now we're going to flip over our prime rib, and we're gonna rub it on the bottom first, just a light layer, and then we're gonna place that in our roasting pan, and then we're gonna rub a thicker layer on top. So this will just give it a nice thin coating on the bottom. And now you can really see these ribs in here, these bones that are gonna make our delicious stock later. I really love making this recipe because it really is all-purpose. You can use the drippings, you can use the bones to make the beef stock, and obviously the star of the show is the beautiful bone-in prime rib that we are going to slow roast and it's going to have so much flavor, and we're gonna have that perfect pink center, cooking it to medium rare. So we're gonna start, I've already preheated my oven to 450 degrees. So you'll wanna do that first. We're going to basically sear the outside in the oven, and then we're gonna turn the oven down to 250 degrees and slow roast it. So now we've set it in our roasting pan, and I'm gonna go ahead and use the rest of the herb butter to make a nice thick layer on the tops and the sides of the prime rib. And then we're gonna put it in our 450 degree oven just for 10 minutes. This method's super easy because you could just leave it in the oven, turn the oven down to 250, and then you're gonna roast it for about 15 minutes per pound of meat to get to medium rare. But I always recommend using a meat thermometer to check the temperature along the way to make sure that you get it to the perfect medium rare. Our beautiful prime rib is now in the oven, roasting at 450 degrees for 10 minutes. We'll turn it down to 250 degrees, and then we'll wait until the internal temperature is 122 degrees. We'll remove it from the oven. It will come up to temperature to medium rare. We'll slice and dig in. So we've let our prime rib rest for 30 minutes. Look at this, it's so juicy. You've got that beautiful butter herb crust on top. I cannot wait to dig into this. So I love to use an electric knife to slice my meat. It just makes things easier. Got a beautiful pink center, perfect medium rare, delicious, juicy prime rib. I can't wait to dig into this. Grab the full recipe on whitneybond.com, and cheers to delicious, meaty goodness.